Welcome back to your sixth sense. I'm sure you're actually starting to feel now this could be a superpower. I'm loving it. I wonder if you're feeling it. I am, and I'm so excited because we have even something better to learn today, and that is we're going to address the biggest reason why people hesitate to use their superpower. Because I know, I've been teaching a long time. I have talked to people for so many years, really intimately. I know that you know your inner voice is working. I know you're actually hearing it and feeling it and sensing it and receiving it. I know you are. But you've been playing hide and seek with it and I don't hear and I'm too busy and I'm on, I'm so in my busyness that I can't really stop. But that's exactly what you have to do. Intuition stresses us a little because it's the great disruptor. The whole point of our intuition is to help us make the best decisions. And so consequently, it often suggests just in the middle of our rock and roll life to do something different. And that really irritates your barking dog. That just really sets off all the alarms. I can't do something different. I have to keep doing what's expected of me. I'm going to upset people. I'm going to make a problem. I'm going to cause myself trouble. That's exactly what your intuition may ask in the moment for the greater outcome in the long run. I call this the willingness to dance in the fire and in the heat of resistance. So I'm going to give you a couple examples. When I first got married years ago, I had this great ambition along with my brand new husband that we're going to buy a house. And he knew me to be a bit intuitive. Actually, he knew me to be a lot intuitive, but he wasn't that familiar with what it's like to live with this energy. So we use our visualization because I'm very good at that. And I decide we name all the things we want. And within 2 days, we find the perfect house. It has all the requirements. It's beautiful. It has a yard, has a fireplace. I mean, these were a big deal for us as a young couple to be able to find something that ticked all our boxes that we could afford. And so we put in a bid on the house, and we put a very low bid because we had no money. And I said, please, please, please ask them to sell it to us because we really need this house. It's perfect for us. So the realtor, she kind of feels emotionally attached and likes our enthusiasm. She said, okay, I'll do what I can. Well, she talked him into agreeing. We're going to get the house. We're going to close on the house in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and we're going to have the house. Yay, right? Except about a week later, I woke up and I said to my husband, I have a bad vibe. We can't buy the house. He's like, what? And I said, can't buy the house. It's a bad vibe. Something's wrong. And he goes, what? I said, I don't know, but we can't do it. And he said, we're going to do it. And I said, we're not going to do it. He said, we are going to do it. And I said, you do it alone then. I'm not going to do it with you. Welcome to the world of intuition. So he looked at me and said, I can't believe this. You talked them into it. Now what are we going to say? And I said, tell him I don't have a good vibe. Tell him I have a bad vibe because she'll think you're nuts. I said, she'll think I'm nuts anyway. And he said, okay, you tell her. I'm not going to do this with you. So that's another story. So I did. I called the realtor and I said, I'm sorry, but we have to withdraw our bid on the house. I can't have it. Again, why? My tool. I don't know. I wonder why, but we can't do it. She said, well, you have to. I said, I don't have to. She said, well, you're going to lose all your down payment. And I said, I'm okay with that because it'll be better than what I'm feeling. And I can't explain. I said, tell them I'm psychic. That'll upset them. And it did. They didn't want to deal with that. They didn't want to get into that. That was too creepy for them. So they said, okay, you're out of the house. We got to move on, get away from this weird person. Okay. Comes and goes. No big deal. My husband's pissed at me. I'm incredibly relieved. And I wondered why. 3 weeks come, we're supposed to own this house. Nothing happens. 4 days after we were to have owned the house, it starts to rain in Chicago, where this was occurring. And rain, and rain, and rain, and rain for 6 weeks. And that house was on a floodplain, and that house flooded. Took me almost 2 months before that information came back, and we were spared. Dodged a bullet, but I took a lot in the meantime. But the realtor called me up and said, I'm really impressed. I can't believe that happened. Now, you've had those moments where you could have made a choice, and yet maybe you didn't listen. Maybe what happened to you instead was, why didn't I listen? Why didn't I do it? I knew it, I felt it, but I froze. Let me give you another story, a more recent one. A couple years ago, I was in Chicago. I used to live there. And I was making my annual summer trip to Paris with my family. There were 4 of us and 2 friends. So there were 6 of us. So we go and we get our tickets and we get our boarding passes and we're standing in line waiting to board the plane. All of a sudden, I had an intuition not to go. And I immediately walked over to the counter and I asked the woman at the counter, I said, hi, I don't mean to upset you. I know you're really busy right now, but can we take a different flight? She looked at me like, what are you talking about? And I said, well, she said, I just gave you boarding passes. The flight's ready to board. I said, I know, but can we have a different flight today? And she said, absolutely not. You can't have a different flight. Your flight's in 20 minutes. We're boarding. And I said, well, will you humor me and just look? Just see if there's another plane going a little later? And she thought I was a nutcase. And her partner who was working the flight saw how irritated she was with me. So he comes over and he goes, can I help you? And I said, yeah, I'd like to see if you can just check to see if we can take a different flight. He said, what are you talking about? It's going right now. I said, well, I just want to know if there's a different flight. And he goes, why? And I said, I don't know. I wonder. I just feel it. So he said, you can't. Well, I travel a lot, so I kind of pulled rank. I said, I'm one of your highest flyers. I've been doing this for years, so could you just please amuse me? So she starts looking. She's clearly annoyed because honestly, she needs to board the flight. Slam, slam, slam. No, no, no. Full, full, full. And then I said, by the way, there's 6 of us. Honestly, I thought she'd punch me in the face by then. 2 seconds later, the captain comes out and he whispers in her ear, this flight has a mechanical, it's not going anywhere. And her eyes popped up and she said, how did you know? And I said, I just had a vibe. I felt it, my intuition. She was so shocked and surprised, she starts tapping, 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 slams out 6 boarding passes and says, get out of here. Get out of here, quick. 300 passengers aren't going anywhere. So I grab the boarding passes and we go running away. My family, used to me, knows to follow me, although they don't know what the heck is happening. I was like, let's go. So we go running down the corridor of the terminal, and I hear the announcement, excuse me, we're sorry to say this flight has a mechanical. It won't be going anywhere. Please go to customer service. While I'm looking at 6 boarding passes to go to Paris. And guess what? One of them was first class. Yes! That's what it is, to be the disruptor, to embrace the disruption, reframe it as your helper, as your protector, as the thing that's going to save the day, not ruin the day. However, as I pointed out, you have to be willing to stand in the face of the resistance. You have to be willing to take what I call the stink eye. You have to take the resistance, the why. And so that's why I introduced prior to this the tool, I don't know. I don't need to know. Now, this is really empowering, but it takes a little practice. You got to build these muscles. So guess what the first thing to do is, and you won't believe it, you have to dance. I mean, really surrender to dancing. Now, why that? Because when you actually dance, now I'm not talking about the white man at the wedding dance, the shoulders in the tight butt and you're like bobbing back and forth. I'm talking about surrendering to the energy that moves you, moves your hips, moves your legs, moves your feet, moves your body, and gets you from not thinking and empowers you to move with the energy in the moment. That's the energy you need to be intuitive. You can't sit and think about it and analyze it. And is this right or wrong? Because you've just left the third space. You're back in right and wrong. You're back in the dogfight. So every day I want you to dance for a few minutes. And you know if your barking dog's like, I'm not going to dance. You know it. It's like, oh, come on, get off my tight butt. Just leave me be. Let me have some fun. Put on some music, dance in the shower, sing in the shower. La, 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 la. Just let yourself be expressive and give up the contracted control of the ego. So dancing is a decision to trust your spontaneous nature, because that's what dancing is. It's feeling energy and going with it. And that is the key element to living an intuitive life. You don't feel it, think about it, then shuffle around. That's a drag. Don't bother. That actually is going to suck everybody else's energy off you, off them around you, and you become the Drano. You need to surrender and play. Play. Dance in the fire. Now, the other thing is when you do disrupt, people will be upset. So you have to have some tools that will help temper that. You don't want to get in a fight. So here's a good tool. It's my mom taught me. My dad was so tight butt, and my mom was so spontaneous. And she would look at him and say, humor me. Humor me. I know I'm crazy. Humor me. Not, you have to do that, I need you to do this, because that'll never get you anywhere. Like I said to the airline, I said, could you just please look? Just give it a go. And when I got out of the house, I said, I know I'm crazy. I'm not going to resist the perception, but I am going to tell you it works for me. I'm going with it. Now, of course, you don't want to put your entire security on the line day one. But how about little things? How about when you're in the flow and your friends say, hey, let's all go out, and your vibe says, not tonight. You can say, that's such a good idea, but it's not working for me right now. So you might disrupt the party, but who knows what you're avoiding. Part B, don't care, don't need to know. Don't need to know. Let it go. You're in the third space. Now, this is a whole new way of living. I get it. But I guarantee you, it's a better way. It is a better way. You will be spared so many things that your barking dog leads you right into. If you just say, I don't know. I don't need to know. I'm going to dance through this. It works for me. So dance for 3 minutes. Dance and breathe for 3 minutes. Pick your favorite song, one you know the words to. Sing it out loud in the shower and dance as hard and as loud as you can. Second, practice. It works for me. I know. It's like be jujitsu with it. Be a little kung fu. Don't fight it. Go with it. Yeah, I know it's weird. Yeah, I know that's crazy. It works for me. Amuse me. I'm going to try. I'm sorry it's disruptive, but I got to be true to myself. Write down as many ways that you can and share on the community page your ways of dancing in the fire. Post a video if you can. Dance in the fire. It's fun. And I'll see you tomorrow.